might think that influence operations are a thing of the past, a relic of the Cold War, and that Russian efforts to influence Poland and other European countries only exist in Hollywood movies. But nothing could be farther from the truth. Good evening, my name is Maja Mazurkiewicz, and welcome to the Anatomy of Disinformation. Elections offer the easiest opportunity to carry out a quick revolution, with just a handful of influence operations and a budget. You can change the way people vote. And now that social media platforms are giving up control over their content, countries like Russia are flooding our feeds with their own narratives. Information is the most effective weapon. Our first guest is someone who has dedicated her life's work to uncovering the hidden mechanisms of influence and manipulation. Her insightful analyses and research have shed light on how narratives are shaped to destabilize societies. She joins us to discuss recent disinformation efforts surrounding Poland's commission to investigate Russian and Belarusian influence, insights from Romania's aborted presidential elections, and more.
Klementyna Suchanov, writer, author of the investigative book This is War, as well as numerous articles, lectures, and interviews on Russian influence in conservative circles. In 2003, she earned a doctorate in literary studies from the Faculty of Letters at the University of Wrocław.
Klementyna, thank you so much for joining us today. We're talking about the Russian influence, mostly in Poland, but elsewhere as well. And in your book, This is War, you detailed how Russian influence infiltrates the conservative circles. What are the most surprising things for you?
That it's so widespread, because many people thought in recent years that Poland was being infected by this religious kind of narrative, because Poland is Catholic. And in fact, this narration is everywhere. So you can see it in whole Europe today, in the US, Latin America. It's doing well in Africa, and we see first signs of its presence also in Asia. So this is something that's very global right now. And they are very united with each other. They share know-how, they meet, they know each other personally. And on those, on this platform that's formed by organizations and movements, let's say, and they are trying to build a political platform which is working well in our days. Because when I started, it was kind of 9 years ago when I started my investigation, and the book was published in 2020. We were at the beginning of it, of the political platform building, and today it's at full scale right now with Trump, with mega movement in Europe. So.
And they're using the same tactics, techniques. Yeah. What is interesting is that you've been in Madrid, right, at one of the alt-right events.
Yeah, this is the case of this political platform that I was talking about. And it comes out from a group that is known publicly as Agenda Europe. And this is a network of organizations, basically European. However, from the beginning, there are Americans and Russians not like anonymous Russians, but people who are linked to the Konstantin Malofeev, the oligarch Konstantin Malofeev, who was very known for his activities also in Ukraine. So this is a very nefarious guy who's put on sanctions in the US, Europe, everywhere almost. Ukraine, of course, too. And so this is a body that was built for NGOs at the beginning, for those movements because Russia liked the idea of the immediate democracy, and they like to exploit it for their benefits. So they entered into this sphere, let's say, and they used it for their aims, and on it they started building political platform for values. And this is the meeting that had place in Madrid in December, and I was there, and I entered to a private meeting that was the welcoming party. And the interesting thing was to see how much Hungarians are being present there and how much this is being financed by Hungarians. And actually the whole event, the welcoming party was Hungarian, but on the next day...
Like Fidesz Hungarian or also business money?
No, government people. government-related people, like coming from those organizations that are funded by Fidesz or by Orban or MOL. On the next day, when the meeting was taking place in the Spanish Senate, the meeting was held and the presence was given to the Spanish people. But this party, a night before, was made by Hungarians, and you could see this facet they are creating for this movement to show that it's organic, Spanish, Spanish hosts and international people coming. But this is being fueled by Hungarians from the beginning, when they started around 2014 in the United Nations headquarters in New York City. It was founded by, the first meeting they had was funded by the Hungarian embassy. So the Hungarians are there from the beginning. And they are definitely a proxy, for the Russian policies in Europe everywhere, but also for those organizations to spread money, to be together, to organize, and So that was
kind of Russian has founded a proxy that is European sort of already.
This is nothing new. We know it. It's nothing new. I just got a proof of it, one more. And I've been there in person, so I can testify. But thing that I was interested in was to see what they are planning for Europe after the Trump's victory. So they announced actually attack on Europe because things in Europe are wrong, basically. So Europe needs to be reformed, and that was the beginning of the mega movement and conference that took place in January in Brussels recently.
Elon Musk also was...
with Elon Musk being there, showing off.
So that was something that started in there. And you're seeing this as well in the Polish movements, especially in
it's the same pattern, basically. There are shifts which are due to the local context. They adapt, they change softly certain things so that it's more natural for this or that place. But basically there's a same pattern that's being shared by all of them, the same narrative, the same tactics, sometimes even pictures. When you follow, their activities and posters and things, you can see that they even share pictures, so they have a source that's based in the US, with abortion pictures, the fetuses and things like that.
Similar patterns, the same playbook, pretty much.
And the same playbook.
And it's starting kind of from the meeting offlines, right? And discussions, and I understand financing as well. And then it's happening online. And with happening online, we're right now at the peak, pretty much, or maybe not yet, but pretty much going to the peak of the presidential campaign in Poland. And seeing what have happened in Romania with the recent campaign. Do you think, or are you already seeing that there are signs how it can influence and that the playbook from Romania can happen in Poland?
Yeah, there are two playbooks right now that are being played in this moment, and this is Romania and Georgia. So Romania is the case that succeeded somehow to save democracy, or at least to protect themselves from the interference, and Georgians, which are still fighting, and this is over 70 days today. So this is something there are two scenarios for everybody, actually. There is a scenario for those who protect themselves and for those who fall into Russian hands and maneuvers. And so this narrative, sometimes when I'm making little comments about it on Twitter, I see immediately a very fervent reaction by the right-wing trolls and accounts, which come immediately to attack me, to say that no, the Constitutional Court's decision in Romania, which decided to cancel, to annul the elections, which, as the Romanian security services discovered, that were
that there were Russian influence, foreign influence, and then decided
there was an influence
by the rule of law.
So they cancelled. So they try to push a narrative that is being prepared, as I see, for to fully start in the coming weeks, when our elections really take in full speed. And So they are trying to prepare a narrative that says that Romanians, they had interference coming from Brussels. So there are serious reports about Russian interference, and they say that no, the interference is coming, there was interference, and there is a chaos that's been created after the decision of the court because of the European interference. And the European interference is the democratic one. So when people are seeking for the democracy, this is called interference by Brussels. So this is the trick, the twist they're trying to introduce.
Narratives.
They are trying to introduce it into the Polish sphere, like public opinion making, like places, to install it before the election, just in case that elections are won by democratic forces.
Thank you so much, Clementina. I'm sure that we could talk much longer about it. There are so many cases, but thank you for bringing them. Thank you so much. Poland's presidential campaign is in full swing. Can we expect to see interference from Russian or Belarusian disinformation actors? We'll find out in this report.
Twenty 2024 was that the year of elections. Now, with Poland's presidential election ongoing, what should the country brace itself for when it comes to Russian and Belarusian disinformation efforts?
Campaign just started, and I think we will see in the infosphere in coming weeks witness those actions. The recommendation is to send a special mission of the Polish Election Commission to Romania to get acquainted what was done and what was the reaction and how the authorities responded to a narrative about the candidates in opposition to Russia. Also, the recommendation is to have a subcommittee within this election committee on this information to analyze what is the narrative.
What efforts do you think Russian or Belarusian disinformers are going to exploit as the presidential election continues?
Might be the migration crisis, also the disinformation on the climate change and energy transformation. Definitely they will try to raise the temperature of discussion, taking people to the streets. I think it won't be the case, but we have to take this into account when we look at what will be in infosphere.
Президент Российской Федерации.
What topics do you think Russian and possibly Belarusian disinformers are going to exploit as the presidential election continues?
Definitely, how to say which candidate will be much involved. It's not about who, it's about how they can influence the results of the election.
The Polish government's commission to investigate Russian and Belarusian influence recently published a report. It shows that in the current geopolitical situation, Poland is becoming a strategic country in society. Our next guest is here to tell us about the practical implications of that and how Poland's adversaries are trying to take advantage of it.
Dominika Kasprowicz, Chief Executive of the Villa Decius Institute for Culture, a cultural manager with expertise in intercultural dialogue, human rights, and cultural heritage. She leads initiatives supporting artists, international cooperation, and refugee solidarity. She holds a European diploma in cultural management and is committed to fostering openness and tolerance through art and education.
Dominika, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today at the Anatomy of Disinformation. We talked today about Russian influence and disinformation spread in Poland and elsewhere, and you are a member of the governmental commission that is dealing with the issue. So what are the main findings until now that surprised you the most?
There is a long list of findings, and I wouldn't say that it's or should be surprising for anyone that knows a little bit about the current Polish history and the Polish-Russian relations. In spite of the fact that for years Poland maybe was not the top counterpart for the Russian Federation, the escalation of the war in Ukraine actually changed the environment. Therefore, Poland and the Polish society became of crucial importance for the Russian propaganda, and it translates into the widening and spreading also the misinformation sourced within the Russian Federation and among its proxies, and targeting the Polish or Polish-speaking audiences. So in that regard, I would not say that that was any kind of surprise for any of the committee members, neither for the Polish media or audiences. What I would say that it's quite interesting is that we have plenty of evidence showing that the contemporary disinformation and misinformation is being widely spread through the media, traditional and online outlets, but also that it's present, very deeply rooted into the spheres of public and political debate that are actually outside of the so-called media. So I would call it maybe not a big surprise, but the fact that there is plenty of evidence showing that we Poles are being exposed to this misinformation and disinformation, operating within the almost every social, cultural, even educational context. That is something that we should put a special attention to.
And are you saying that those operations are well organized and put and are coming around certain narratives, or they are rather chaotic and having a sense of polarizing society or bringing chaos into the Polish society?
One of the priority of this cognitive campaign is definitively to make the social polarization level as high as possible. This rule by dividing rule applies to the Polish context, and it's been efficiently used not only by the Russian Federation. So in that term, I would agree with you. When it comes to the planned or not planned operation, we have been witnessing, and we are targeted with a process that has been very smartly designed, very widely spread, and what is really important to acknowledge, that has been a long-term strategy that has been implemented over the years.
Can you give any examples of this? And are they coordinated? So are they, for example, happening in the same time around the same topics?
Yes, and yes. But before I get to the 3 yes answer, let me make a short but important remark. And of course, we know that these campaigns, these operations are tailored. They are oriented and designed very accurately towards a target group. And by target group, I mean not only the demographic characteristic of the given society, but also its historical roots, pre-existing beliefs, and the currently ongoing processes, for example, political scandals, natural disasters, any other types of crises that are happening in the certain moment. So
those
yes,
vulnerabilities of the society are key in here.
Exactly that's it. Why? Because as we know, fake news is very sticky, and it's sticky for several reasons, but we should mostly acknowledge the fact that it sticks to the topic, with the topics, to the people that are not really resilient in terms of being driven emotionally, let me put it this way. So what I mean by that is that already it's been proven, and we see when we look into the disinformation campaigns that has been pursued by the Russian Federation on the Polish ground, in the Polish speaking media, we see that the topics are changing. The topics are being changed. Just to give you an example of the disinformation campaigns that were dedicated to the COVID-19 pandemic and the promotion of not to get vaccination. So this anti-scientific, anti-vaccination campaigns were vehicle, like a topic, one of the topics that were used in order to steer emotions, but also in order to deepen the polarization of the Polish society.
Dominika, thank you so much for showing the whole context. And what I take it from here is that resilience is crucial, and definitely being mindful while looking at the media and the world around us is a critical thing right now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Let's now see how hashtags can be hijacked on social media.
Hashtag hijacking is a tactic where disinformation actors exploit trending hashtags to spread irrelevant, misleading, or harmful content. By associating false narratives or propaganda with popular hashtags, they manipulate social media algorithms to amplify their reach. This tactic is often used to disrupt political conversations, undermine social movements, or promote unrelated agendas. For example, hijackers may flood hashtags with spam or divisive content to confuse audiences and distort the original purpose of the conversation.
Did you know that when you're looking at pictures of cute cats on your Instagram feed, you could actually be scrolling through a carefully curated Russian intelligence account? The Kremlin knows what mechanisms work on people and uses them with no regard for its victims. They are using old and new techniques to polarize societies, sowing chaos and uncertainty. And people who attempt to reveal their dirty schemes often pay a big price, including threats from foreign operatives and wars. These tactics are war tactics, and they are happening all around us. But we all have a voice, and sometimes it's enough to boost and spread true information. Most importantly, though, we all need to keep calm and think deeply.